Let's begin with our breath. It always begins with our breath. Everything begins with breath. From the moment we're born until we leave this body, there is breath. Breath is the great I am. And on the inhalation, we feel ourselves connecting to all that is. With the exhalation, we allow that awareness to flood our field of being. With the inhalation, we sense once again that we belong here. In the exhalation, we sense the community of souls that have gathered here. On the inhalation, we experience gratitude for what is. And on the exhalation, we offer that gratitude into the entire field of being for this planet. On the inhalation, we connect with the universality of the human experience. And on the exhalation, we invite our fellow humans to rise up and meet their eternal self as we endeavor with commitment to meet our own eternal self. And so it is. I hear the rain. There's so much. This is such a big palette. It's such a broad palette to work in. And what it comes down to is within each of us is this treasure trove of being. Within each of us is this dynamism that is willing to explode forth into the world, to move into beingness. We are the ones who hold ourselves back. We're the ones who say, oh, I'm not that. What I have to offer isn't enough. I'm not powerful enough. I don't have the right credentials. I'm not. And I loved that Willie started us with a little fear here, and so I'm calling on my courage. We all live with fear, all of us. When we have rage erupt about things that are happening around us, those little fires have fear's face on it. We see little fires everywhere right now, everywhere. If we're looking outward, if we allow ourselves the grace, the dignity, and indeed the integrity to look within, to go into that treasure trove of being, we will recognize that all is well. And it is a challenge when we have been trained from the get-go, from the time we're little people, to be on the lookout all the time for that which could impact us in a negative way. And as we begin to mature and age, some of those ideas about who we think we are, that conditioning begins to calcify. And as the conditioning calcifies, we start to become rigid in our thinking, rigid in our belief systems, rigid in our interactions with other people. Because at depth, when fear is on board, we do not feel like we belong. When fear is on board, we believe that we are separated from other people. We are separated from the goodness of creation. We are separate beings. Now, while we are individuated, I see we all have bodies, we all have our own minds, we're individuated. But if we allow ourselves to travel into that treasure trove of depth, we're going to find that we are all connected in oneness. And what we do to one impacts us all. And I don't know about you, but I do know about me, and my life has been a little messy. I have not always shown up in the world with a sense of grace and welcoming. Every once in a while, the memories of those moments come back to me. And I get to sit with how important forgiveness is. Because we're being invited over and over to release the places where fear has claimed us, named us, and chosen to hold us hostage. This is a lifetime practice. This is not going to be done in a day to release the fear. It's not going to be done in a day. But there are paths made. Now, I have some ideas that have worked for me, and I will be glad to share those today. And a deeper truth is, as individuated selves, we all have our own path. And we can recognize that something's working for someone, but it may not work for us. We are continually invited to be explorers and discover what our path truly is, separate from what we are told it is supposed to be. Oh, I'm warming up. Okay. Today, either today, the 8th or the 15th, is called Nirvana Day in the Buddhist tradition, which is the day that Buddha left his physical body. There's a really great story, and I know many of you know this story, but I'm going to share it anyway. Let's see if I can do this and keep the flowers intact. Look at that. It's a miracle. So in Thailand, there was a large clay Buddha, large, heavy clay Buddha that needed to be moved at the monastery. They were moving it. And as they began the process of moving this clay statue, a crack began to appear, and everybody was very concerned and worried. The monks kept looking at the crack, looking at the crack. And one monk had a great idea of taking a flashlight and shining it into the crack that had appeared in the Buddha and was getting larger. And what he saw inside was gold. The Buddha was solid gold, hidden in this cake of mud, which had been placed over that golden Buddha 600 years before, when the village was being overrun by interlopers, we'll call them, people with a lust for power and greed, and they wanted to protect it. All of those monks died, but somehow the Buddha stayed intact and was not recognized for what it is. That's the truth of our eternal self. It is that gold within. It is the gold within. And how do we connect with that? Well, the first way we connect with the gold within is with our breath. We breathe in. And with each breath, the I am settles. And with each exhalation, the I am floods our being. With each inhalation, the I am deepens. And with each exhalation, the expansion and spaciousness around us begins to grow. And each time we follow our breath, we have the capacity to move into a spaciousness that will include all souls, will include everyone. No one will be excluded. Matthew 5:5, Jesus says, the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. So I did a little study about the word meek because it brings a lot of people to the idea of becoming invisible and not doing things, pulling back. But the original word, it has the same root as humus, not hummus, the delicious Mediterranean dish. Humus, soil, ground. The meek are grounded. The meek have landed here and recognize that this experience is vital for soul evolution. Vital for soul evolution to be on the planet at this time, grounded and connected to the body, to the emotions, to the mind, to the spirit, are vital for our soul's evolution. Now, new thought is a step along the way. New thought is told, get the brain straight, get right in your thinking. That's a great place to start, but it is not the end all and be all. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a body, there wouldn't be emotions, and there wouldn't be that eternal self. If just the thinking was all it is. There is so much more to us. And when we allow ourselves to recognize that our body, temple, offers us vast amounts of information that our brain may not necessarily recognize, we can begin to cooperate with the revealing of our eternal self. The revealing of our eternal self. Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda said, each human being is the universal, recognizing and feeling oneness with everyone and everything in the universe, without inferiority or superiority or any other bias. This is the mark of humility. Meek humility. Humus, the groundedness. That's humility. It's a modest sense of who we really are, which, to my mind, when I see us, are these magnificent creatures with vast capacities for creativity, remarkable insights, deep compassion, fully mindful moments where love is all that is. If we step outside of that system, we begin to believe what is going on outside of our eyes is the real deal. That which is happening outside of our eyes has already happened. It is the world of effect. And to change the world of effect, it's not to run around and put out the fires. It is to step in and go step in and say, oh, there's a root here. Can I be at peace here? Can I settle in here? And maybe it is for me to understand why the fire is raging. Most often not, because it's vast and complex, this mystery that we live in. But we come back to, in my heart of hearts, I know I will be called to answer whatever spirit connected with my eternal self is calling me to do in the world. I met the idea of willingness years ago when I had a little tag, my self-made bumper sticker. Willingness to do creates the ability to do. And I use that to drive business. It's like, that's a great idea. It's a spiritual principle that I'm going to bring into my business. It's going to help me organize everything. I'm going to be willing to do whatever it takes. This idea has slowly evolved into the willingness to be, just to be with who I am, just to be present with whatever is. And when I can do that, then I'll know where to go, who to talk to, what to do, because I will have taken the time to settle in and listen. And here we give ourselves breath. We find our inhalation and our exhalation. Now, Julia Seaton was a teacher of your thought. She strongly influenced Ernest Holmes. And she had a breathing practice that she shared. And on the inhalation is the I am. On the and there's a pause. In the pause, we plant an idea. And then on the exhalation, we see that idea of filling our field of being. I like the idea of I am pausing, committed to knowing my eternal self. Exhale. What does it feel like to breathe in the I am, committed to knowing my eternal self? And exhaling that into the field of being, flooding the field of being. What is it like to live in that place? In that grounded place where I'm not better than or worse than anyone else. I am simply part of the whole. I am. We're looking for the gold within. Jesus shared with us really clearly. That's where the kingdom of heaven is. Hey, it's in here. It's in here. It's not out there. We can never make ourselves enough to meet the ideal that lives in the back of our mind about who we think we are supposed to be. We'll never be able to do it. Why? As really shared, I'm not enough. When that story runs in us, and it runs in everyone at one point or another, it still may be running. When that story is running in us, we are not at peace. And when we are not at peace, it is very difficult to find the eternal self. The eternal self is bathed in silence and stillness. It's the deep, living water within us. And being able to recognize when I am feeling like I'm not enough is there, to really be able to identify it and go, oh, that's another face of fear. To be able to recognize this is what fear looks like in my day-to-day life. I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm limited because of X, Y, Z. All of the stories that we tell, those are all faces of fear. And the only way to navigate fear is to bring love into it. But how many times do we have a sense that comes up, like the rage comes up, and we go, oh, I'm not supposed to feel that. Or the fear comes up and we can identify it as fear and go, I'm not supposed to feel that. We have a whole list of, well, you're not smiling. We have a whole list of things that look like fear, and we push it away. I love this idea of acceptance. This is one of the steps in to find the gold, to find the treasure, to meet heaven in the body. And that is acceptance. Acceptance reveals the real nature of the perceived challenges for what they are. An invitation to return to our ever-expanding capacity to love what is. When we're watching the things outside of us and we're seeing all the little fires, and it's stimulating a response, maybe it's a negative response, maybe it doesn't feel good. Let's not push that response away. Let's sit with it and bring love into it. Can we love ourselves in this place? And sometimes it helps to put that hand where you're feeling the contraction. We do this in yoga a lot. Where are you feeling this? Put your hand there. That brings the attention into the sensation. So as we sit here and we're listening in, probably, I'm going to invite you to just, if it feels safe and comfortable, gently close your eyes or do a soft focus with the eye. If you can bring your feet to rest flat on the floor, here we're coming into that groundedness. And as we breathe, we begin to scan in our body sensations. Become present with the sensations in our body. We might notice a little bit of tightness somewhere. Might feel like our shoulders are pinned up like earrings by our ears. Maybe we notice that we're not allowing ourselves to really settle into a seat beneath us. If we can soften into this moment and begin to observe any place within us that feels tight. Maybe it's in the throat, or the heart center, or the solar plexus. We can take our hand to that place and imagine love flooding into the place where we're experiencing tightness. We're not trying to push the tightness away. We're trying to welcome this experience because this is an invitation. And in this place, there's a message. Our body has a message for us. And if we can take a breath, a beat, and just acknowledge the sensations that are happening, we begin to observe that those places of tightness begin to unfurl. A little more light begins to come into those tight places. A little more awareness. Ultimately, a little more love. So instead of trying to push away that which is, let's follow what Rumi mentions. Life's water flows from darkness. Search the darkness. Don't run from it. Night travelers are full of light. And you are too. Don't leave this companionship. So the method here, the magic here, the miracle here, is when we can let ourselves be present with what is arising within us. We can allow ourselves to be present with what is arising within us. The shadow falls behind, and our light emerges. Thank you.